So at this point, is based on what we have done so far, how to create that is understanding VS Code environment and how to create a simple project. Does anybody have a question? Is there anything I did that you didn't understand? Okay, so there's no question, so let's proceed. Now the next thing that I want to learn is how to recognize the HTML tags. So if we go back to our browser, our VS Code, we are going to see all these things. They are all HTML. So how do we recognize them? Okay, I'm seeing the hand of Chidinma. Please ask your question.
Please, I don't understand that VS Code icon, the way you say. I couldn't get it. Sorry.
Okay, so the VS Code icon is responsible for adding this icon to my file or to a folder. So for instance, if I want to, as this project grows, I will need some files and some folders. So you see that if you have not installed your VS Code icons, you see that it will just be an angle bracket, this and this that will show here, so which is not nice. So the VS Code icon just adds some icons that can even make you to easily spot a file, especially when the project grows. So it's not only for files, it's also for folders. So let me use this opportunity to also show you how you can create your folders accordingly. So now I want to create a folder for my CSS. So you notice I will come down, so always come down to this point and tap. So if you tap here, you see this blue border, then you click the second icon and I'll choose CSS. Now you notice because I'm using VS Code icon, you see how it has added this icon, so which means I'll know that this is my CSS folder. Then I also want to create another folder for other pages that is part of my website. So I can call them views, or I can call them pages. So again, if I tap here, you see this blue background will come here with a blue border that is here. But because I don't want this folder that I'm creating to be inside this my CSS, I'm going to come down here again and tap here. You notice now that this blue border is here, meaning that any file or folder that I create now will be created as part of or just in the first level of this folder. That means as you open this folder, you will see it, not inside any folder. So if that is what you want, always come down to this point and tap. If I tap here and I use this icon, anything I create will be created inside the CSS folder, which is not what I want. So what I'm going to do now is I'll come down here and tap, make sure the blue border is here, then I'll come here and tap this first one. No, is a folder that I want to create. So I'll tap the folder icon and type views. So you notice the icon that I added here. Now I want to create a CSS for this my index.html. So it is always good that each HTML file should have its own CSS, unless for external CSS there are some CSS that you like to share, but everything will be grouped here. So now I want to create a CSS file for this my index.html and I want it to be inside here. So there are two ways I can do that. The first way is I will tap on this CSS folder. Notice the blue background and the blue border that is here. Then I can use this icon or this, or I can right click now and say new file. So that's what I'm using now. I'll say new file, and I'll tap that at index.css. So I'll hit what? Enter. Now you notice that this CSS file is inside this my CSS folder. So if I tap this drop down icon now, you notice that the file is no longer showing because it's inside. But if I tap it again, you see it opens. So that's good. So now if I want to create a file inside this views folder, let's say like is the about. So again, I will tap on these views now to make sure that the blue border comes. Then I can now use this first icon and say about.html, and I'll hit what? Enter. So you notice now that you see this line is showing that this views folder now has some children inside. So if I close it, you see that it's not showing, but if I tap it, you see that it's showing. Then for this about.html, you also need the CSS too. So I'll now tap on the CSS folder and tap on this new file, or I can also use right click, but I like to use one because it's fast. So I'll tap on this and I'll put about.css. So you see that here the pattern that we use. Then for my JavaScript file, so if I want to create a JavaScript folder too, so the same principle. Now I want the JavaScript folder to be in the parent folder, which is this. I don't want it to be inside views or about. Now as this blue border is showing me here, if I click on this, it's going to be created inside. So I want it to be created outside, so I'll come down to this point and tap. Then I'll now tap on folder on the folder icon. So I'll now click on JS. So you see, as I just type JS and hit enter, you see the icon that it has now added. So the same principle apply. So for index.html, I'll have the CSS file and I also have the JS file. So I'll just do only that one. So I'll just create. Now immediately you create a folder, it will automatically add this blue border. So it's like a focus there, because it's assumed that you want to create some files inside. But in case it's not there, maybe you click on something here, you see it disappears. But in case it's not there, make sure to tap on it and it appears. Then I'll now tap on this first icon, or you can right click like this, as long as this border has been highlighted. And make sure before you right click, if you want to use the second method, make sure that your cursor is on the blue border then before you right click. So I like to use the first method, so I'll just click this. Now put index.js. So you see how it's adding those icons, so it's just making the files look nice. So that is the function of the VS Code icon. Then as regards to download it, so you just come to your Explorer here, so you tap on your Explorer icon and you just type VS Code icon. So I'll backspace and type VS Code space icons. VS Code space icons. So you're going to download the VS Code icons, by VS Code itself. So immediately you install it, if you're observant, as soon as it installs, if your system is fast, it's going to bring down a prompt here that you should choose the file icon that you want to be active. So you just tap on the VS Code icon. But in case it didn't show you, what you need to do is to, I think I'm recording this, yes, so is to come to this your settings, you click on themes, then file icon themes. So once you tap this, then you're not going to see. So there are some of them I've downloaded before. I downloaded these ones, but the one I'm using now is VS Code icon. So if you click on this VS Code icon, that is the one that will be what? Active. Now if I click on this setting VS Code, that is the one that comes by default. Now if I click on this, notice if I come back to my Explorer, you see how it's showing. Very ugly. You see, it's not fine. So I don't like it like that. So that's just the work of the VS Code icon, to just make your files and folders look a little bit modern for you. So I'm going to change it now. I'll go to Themes, then File Icons, and I'll choose my VS Code icons. So if I do that, you see how it's now showing now. Very fine. So is that okay by you, Chidinma? Have I answered your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. So we'll now move on to, so like I was saying, if you come here, you notice that we just have all these things. So what are all these things? This line, all these things are there. They are called tags. They are HTML codes. So how do we recognize them? So let's go back to the monitor. So how to recognize HTML tags? Now there are two ways in which the HTML tag appears. It can have the opening and closing tag. So you just know that a HTML tag must be inside an angle bracket. So you see this less than, and you see this greater than. Then immediately after the first angle bracket, you see the tag name. So if I go back, you notice that after the first angle bracket, this thing that you see here is the tag name. Then any other thing that you see here is called what? The attribute. So this is a tag name, all these things attribute. This is a tag name, all these things what? Attribute. So let's go back. So after the angle bracket, you see the tag name, attributes. Then for a text tag, it will have some text inside. There are some tags that also accept other tag as children, so you see those things inside, but just for simplicity you see tag. Then there are some tags that have opening and closing. So from here to here is the opening tag. Then from how you know a closing tag is, it must have this slash before the tag name. So this angle bracket slash and the tag name, this is the closing tag. Then there are some self-closing tag. So if I go back now, we'll see a self-closing tag. So like you see this meta tag that I see here is a self-closing tag because it doesn't have the opening and closing, just like this h1 and this h1. Then if you notice, there are two formats of the self-closing tag. So you have this one and you have this one. Now this first one is used in your HTML, just normal vanilla HTML. But by the time we go to React, because React uses the standard of XML, which is extendable markup language, it will force you to add this slash here. So I'm just showing you now because we'll be using it in our React. So this is how you can recognize a HTML tag. It must be inside an angle bracket. Then after this part of the angle bracket, you see the tag name. Now after the tag name, whatever you see within the opening bracket is the word attributes. And notice from this structure of a tag, the attribute is never on the closing tag. So if you add any attribute on the closing tag, it will not work. Now that's one thing about the HTML. It does not throw an error on your browser if you make a mistake. Just know that it will not work. So remember, one of the qualities of a web developer is to be observant. Study how a tag should be, and when you did not write it well, you should know that you did not write it well. And there are sometimes we might not write it well because of a typo error. So we should be anticipating the expected output of our code, so that when it's not there, we know that there's an error. And that being said, it then means you should test your code in small parts. So don't write like 50 lines before you test. Now if it did not work, you now start to debug 50 lines of code. So it's good if you write like 2 or 3, you test and see. 4 or 5, you test and see, so that you know when it works and when it does not work. Now this A part here, that is this one here, is an opening and closing tag. So I've explained that this is the opening tag and this is the closing tag, and the closing tag must have this / before the tag name. Then this B and C are self-closing tag. So this is the one that you'll be seeing in the HTML part, but by the time I move to React, this is the format that I'll be using. Now what I want you to remember, I want to remember this: HTML tags must be inside angle brackets, or this. Then HTML tag names are not case sensitive. Now it then means that I can write the H1 as a capital H and it still work, or as a small letter word H. So it then means for the paragraph tag, which is P, I can write small letter P or big letter P, but lowercase tags are widely used. So it is only in HTML that is not that case sensitive when it comes to the tag. But by the time I move to JavaScript, that does not work. So but just know that HTML gives you that flexibility. Okay, so I'll move to the next part now, which is examples of HTML tags. So we have the P tag or the paragraph tag, we have the A tag or the link tag or the anchor tag, we have the B or the break tag. No, that is not the break tag, that should be the boot tag. Then we have the span tag, we have the H1 or the heading 1 tag, we have the div or the section tag. So there are many tags. HTML tags, there are more than 50. So I will not teach you all of them, but I'll just teach you the basic ones that you need. So let's learn how to use some of these tags. So let's go back to our VS Code. So this is the heading 1 tag, and this heading 1 tag is the main heading. So this is the main heading for a website, and because of that, the H1 tag should appear only once on a web page. So as I have this index.html, I should have only one H1. This is my about page, I should have only one H1. But the H2 to the H6, it can be as many as possible. You can repeat them, but this H1, you must not repeat them. Now if you repeat them, it doesn't mean that it will not work, especially for this H1, but just know that it's not professional. So we've done the H1, so let's do start of the H2. So I'll do the H4. I'll put this one as heading 4. Then I'll come here, H5, put this one as heading, typo error, heading 5, and lastly is H6 as what? Heading 6. Okay, so I have this now, H1 to H6. So if I save this, because I'm using my live server, if I go to my browser, I will see H1 to H6. So you see, by default, the H1 has a big font size and a thicker bold. So the H1 or the H tag just stands for heading tags. So you have your heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4, heading 5, heading 6. So let's move to the next common tag, which is the P tag. So I'm going to come here now. Because I'm using VS Code, I will not start typing the angle bracket P and this. You're not a typist, so because you're using VS Code, just type P and wait for the emit abbreviation and hit what? Enter. You see, it has brought out everything I need to type. So I just type this is paragraph 1 and save. So if I save that, I go to my browser, I will see this is what? This is paragraph 1. Now, what if I just want 100 words or like 50 words or like 20 words? Now, we are not a typist, so VS Code gives you a way to generate random words if the goal is just to populate the page. So if you don't have anything meaningful to put there but just want some paragraph, VS Code gives you that. Now, another way to do this, which is slower, is you open some documents in your PC, look for some text and paste, or you go online and search for some text and paste. So those times that you used to do that, VS Code doesn't want you to do that. So what I will do now is I'll use another method. So if I type, I'll hit enter there, press my P again. So P, I'll hit enter. Then I'm going to type lorem. So I'm going to type lorem. So once I type that lorem, you notice it's just a dummy word in Latin. So once I hit enter, you will notice that I have some text there. So I want to ask, how many persons are seeing my screen, please? If you're seeing my screen, please can you raise up your hand? Okay, so that means if you're not seeing my screen, then that means is a network issue. So I will advise you to just log out and log in again. Okay, thank you. So please, you can raise down your hand, please. So you notice that using this lorem, we're able to generate about 50 words. So if I save now and go back to my browser, I see this. Now, what if I want more? Let's say I want about 500 words. So it's still the same process, but I will type P again. I'll hit enter. Then I'm going to type lorem. Now notice I'll not hit enter. I'll now type the number of words I want it to generate for me. So I want 150. So you see, I'll hit what? Enter now. Then it's going to generate 150 words for me. So that is all you need to do there. So if you want less word, you're going to put after lorem, maybe if you want like 5 words, you just put lorem 5. But just now, lorem is the keyword to generate random text. So please, if you're not asking question, please just take your hand down. You might have forgotten, so that I'll know when you have a question. Is there any question? Please, if you don't have any question, please raise your hand down. Oh, the hands are increasing. Okay, so let me start with so if you don't have any question, please raise your hand down. So let me somebody that I've not asked before. Okay, Chijioke. Chijioke, please speak up. Chijioke, please speak up. please unmute and speak up. Okay, let's.
I don't have any question yet. I'm trying to raise down my hand.
Okay. Okay, so the next hand, let me see what I've not asked. Ubo, please unmute and speak up.
So please, I'm trying to bring down my hand. I don't understand. The thing is not working. I don't have a question, sir, for that.
Okay. So that means it's network issue. Okay, so I'll just proceed. Okay, so that is for the heading and the paragraph tag. So the next one that I want to learn about is the anchor tag. Yes, so we need to learn about that. Oh, I've moved on. Okay, it will come up. So let's move on to our VS Code. So the anchor tag. Now the anchor tag or the link tag or the A tag is used to redirect users to some places within or to a page within our website, or to another website. So it's both. You can do the local redirect or external redirect. So it's basically seen on a website. When you click on a website, you see something that looks like a nav bar. You see a home, you see about, you see this and that. So let's use that for that. So what I'm going to do now is this. Let's go to the top here, because the nav bar of websites is usually at the top. So, and there is also a tag called the nav tag. So we have nav. So I just click nav and hit what? Enter. I'll hit enter again. Now when you are writing a code in your VS Code or any text editor, most times we break it in line. Like we break it like this just for readability. It doesn't mean that if you write it like this that it will not work. It will work, but just to make it easier for us to read and debug our codes, so we just write it like this. Now any programming language that you are writing, you need to be using comments. So a comment is just a code or part of the code that is not executed. So once the compiler or whatever is interpreting that code, once it sees that line of code, it will just keep it because it is not meant to be executed. Then why do we need comments in our code? Now we need comments is a part of documenting our code, so that other persons that wants to learn from our code can easily know what we are doing. And it's also for our own benefit. Let's say you work on a project this year now and you didn't write any comments, and because it's just fresh on your memory, you can know what you're doing. But let's say you come back to that same code after 2 or 3 years or even 5 years, you see that you have to start cracking your head to understand what you are actually trying to do. So it's benefit for both you and others who might want to learn from your code. So I'm going to put here now, and remember from the lesson we learned earlier that to bring out a comment in your VS Code, all you need to type is control and /. So I'm going to type that now. So excuse me, control and /. I'm just going to put nav bar. Then you can use comment as many times as possible. So I can put here end of nav bar. So, or if you want to use this format, you can also put this is the one. But if you're doing something that is major, then just make sure that you add a comment. So I'm going to add an anchor tag now. So now I want, if the user clicks on this page or on any of this link, it should open a new, it should direct the user to a page within this our own website. So what I'm going to do now is, remember that when we created this about page, it just empty. So let me ask a question now. How do I generate the example code that I need here? Who can remind us that? What am I going to type that will bring out the example code? Okay, I'm seeing a hand here, Mr. Ubo. Shift 1. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much. So to bring out that boilerplate or that example code, I just type Shift and 1 and wait for your emit abbreviation to show and just click. So that will bring that. So I will change here now to what? About, just the about. So now I'll just hit enter here, use a H1. I'll just put about me, then I'll click, I'll just add a p tag there and type lorem 100. So that will generate just some lorem, some dummy text there. So you notice that there's an overflow now. So to remove this overflow, you hold your Alt Z. So you notice now. So now I want now on my browser, using the anchor tag, if I click on the navbar that will show here, it will open that about page for me. Then from that about page, if I click on it, it will open by this home page for me. So let's do that. So I'll come to my index page. Then I'm going to I'm not going to tell the browser where it will find my home page first. So dot and forward slash means open everything that is in the current folder. So you notice that this about this, the index page now, or the home page now, which is this index page, is in the root folder, which is in the home directory. So wherever this file is that you want to load, this is the index page now and it's on the root folder. So because it's on the root folder, as I type dot and forward slash, you notice it's showing me everything that I have here. I have my CSS, I have my JS, I have my views, and I have my what? Index. So wherever the file that you type dot and forward slash, it will open everything that is inside that file. So I'm going to choose this one and I'll type home. Now let me show you something again. If I clean this and just type slash, you see it also does the same thing, but dot and forward slash is more safer, because there are some time when if you use just this slash, it might not work, it will be showing some error, but dot and forward slash always works. So dot and forward slash, that's what I want you to be using. So if I give you assignment and you use slash and I test it and it does not work, I'm going to mark it as fail. So please always use dot and forward slash, then use VS Code suggestion to make sure that you don't have an error. So I'll type that. Now this is the home, then shift alt arrow down to duplicate this, then I'll change this to what? About. Then the next thing now is I want to load the about page, which is inside my views folder. So again, I'm going to clean this. So dot and forward slash, then it has opened the explorer for me. So I know that this my about page is inside my views, so I'm going to tap my views, then I'll not choose my what about. So you see how easy it is. So now if I save and go to my browser, oh, that was a mistake. So if I go to my browser, I'm going to see this thing here. So if I tap my about, you notice it has what? Open a new page in my what? That shows me about. So if I go back using here, you notice it shows me what? Here. But you notice that the problem that I wanted to solve was, if I click on this my about, that same navbar should appear here, so that when I click on that home again, to take me to my what? Home page. So does anybody have an idea of how we can do that? How do we make it to show in our about page? So this our class is an interactive one, so just feel free to express your opinion. Remember, no answer or no question is foolish. That question that you feel that is foolish, or that answer that is foolish, might lead to a better clarification that will benefit other people. So please feel free to ask. So let's listen to JVM, please.
I think you have to copy it from your index.html to your about.html.
Okay, thank you very, very much. That is part of the solution. So after the copying, do I need to do something else? Okay, thank you very, very much, Mr. Javian. So he has given us half of the answer. So after the copying and pasting on the about.html, do I need to do something else? So there's a hand up, Mr. Ubo. Mr. Ubo, please unmute and speak.
Okay, so I mean that is the same format I wanted to say. We copy it and paste to the about.html.
Okay, nice. But after we copy and paste, there's something else we need to do. So thank you all for your effort. At least it shows that. Okay, there's a hand up. Let's listen to Mr. Moses. So, Mr. Moses, please unmute and speak up.
Okay, after you copy, you need to change the href back to home. It shouldn't be about. Okay.
Thank you very, very much. I just wanted to hear that we need to change the path, especially for the home page. If we don't change it, it will show an error, and I'll demo that. Thank you very, very much. You all have tried. So this is the kind of enthusiasm I want you people to have. Always read ahead of the class by using W2 Schools or any other website you're comfortable with, so that some of these technical questions you'll be able to answer them. And like I always say, it's better for you to be confused before the class than after the class, because after our Saturday class and Sunday class, you have assignments. So it's better for you to read ahead of the class so that you can ask question and be part of the class. So for those of you who answered, very, very good. If you do not answer, don't feel bad, but it doesn't mean that you did not understand. So very, very good, very, very good. So let's implement that. I'm happy with the reply. So let's do that. So let's go to our VS Code. So like the answer, we need to copy this. So I'll do my Ctrl+C. I'll go to my about. Then I'll come to the top here and I paste. Now notice what will happen if I did not change anything. So if I save now in theory, what will happen is that it will not be showing in my about, but the functionality will not be what I expect. Now it's good as a programmer you'll be able to understand the consequence of each line of code, what it will result to. If you can develop that, then you can on your own predict how a code will behave, and in case it did not work, you'll be able to know, oh, I forgot this, and just fix it. So being a programmer is not about try and error. If not, you waste valuable amount of time that you use for something else. So just try to understand the code, understand how, just try to reason in terms of the programming language, and you find programming very, very easy. So we want to test that. So if I go back here, so you notice this is my home page. If I just refresh, you see I'm seeing here. So if I go to my about now, you see I'm seeing my about. Now let me try to go to my home page. You notice I have an error because the path is wrong. So if I go back and I try to also go to this about, you see, even though I'm in my about page, you see that the path is wrong. So we need to copy and paste, but we need to also change the path where it need to load those page. So I will now go back to my VS Code. Here is my about. Then I'm now going to do the same process. So I'll come back here, dot and forward slash. Now dot and forward slash, like I explained before, it will only load the files where a particular file is. So this our about.html is inside this folder, and for now it's only about that is there. So that is why it has loaded only what about. So to go out of this folder, we need to do dot and forward slash. That means we want to go out of this folder, and now we are in the parent folder. So you see it loads everything like the one we did in our index.html. So at this point I can now choose my what index.html, because that is my home page. So the same thing, I will come back here and do my dot and forward slash to see if it will load. Now it loads my about because I'm inside my what about. So that fixes it. So you see here is the programming is just follow the instruction, just follow the steps that you see me doing, and make sure it works for you. And if it does not work, you find out why it didn't work. Now remember, programming, you are writing a set of instructions, so you need to understand the consequence of those instructions as enough for you to get the expected result. And that is why, as part of the qualities of a good developer, you need to be very, very observant. Now, as I've explained the function of dot and forward slash and dot and forward slash, you should take a note, either a mental note or a written note, as to what that means, so that in case you forget, you can actually refer back to those things and fix your code. So if we go back to our if we go back to our code now, and if I refresh the page now, so if I go to my about, you see I see my about. Now if I click my home, you see I have my home, about. Now if I'm in about, I click about, you see it just refresh and take me to that same place because I'm still there. So this is how we use the navbar, the anchor tag, to redirect users to other pages of our website. Now the last one I want to show you now is how to use the anchor tag to redirect users to an external website. So let's do that together. So that is very, very easy. So I'll just come here, I'll tap my anchor tag. Then I'm going to type so let me first of all type. So I'm going to type okay, let me just add a comment here. So this will be my view my git repos, something like this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my browser. I'll just type git. So it can be anything, it can be Facebook, it can be anything. So but I just want to show you. So now this is my GitHub page. Then I'm going to tap here and choose my repositories. So I'll choose your repositories. Why is it slow? So I'm going to choose your repositories. So I'll click that. So as soon as it opens, I'll just copy the URL that shows here. So I'll just copy that URL, Ctrl C. Then I'll go back to my code and just paste that here. So you see, and that's all. So if I save this now, so I'm doing this in my about. So I can only see this link in my what about. Now this is an external what link, so I don't need to do dot and /. So if I go to my document, which is here, I'll go to my about. Then I'll see view my git repos. So just notice that if I close this now, if I click on this view my git repo, you notice it will attempt now to open my git repository. Are you seeing it? Very fine. But now there is one last task now that we need to do. What if now you notice as I click on that link, it opened this same website in place of my own. That is like it now open the new website on top of my own. So I cannot see my own website now that I click that about that view my git repo. So if you don't want that, I'll just go back now. You see that I have my about. So if I want this to open on a new tab, so that after the user has finished viewing the external link, the person can easily tap like something like this to view the website back. So to do that, I have to add an attribute here called target. Then so I need to add an attribute called target, and I will choose the first one, which is underscore blank. So the work of this underscore blank means that it should open this link on a new tab on whatever browser that you are using. So if I save this, then I come to my browser. Now just notice what happened now. Because we are using live server, it has automatically refreshed. So if I click on this now, you notice it's now opening the new website on a new tab. So I believe with this we've now learned how to use the anchor tag to redirect user to other pages within our website and to an external website. So based on what I've taught, is there any question? Is there any question before we proceed with other tags that we need to learn? Okay, so let's move on. So the next thing that we need to learn is what are HTML attributes. Now you just see me use an attribute now, which is a target attribute. So what are attributes? So I'm seeing a hand, Mr. Oluwafemi. Please ask your question.
Yes, sir. About the tag.
Okay.
I mixed one part of it. About dot HTML.
Okay. So is it please just rephrase the question again so that I will know the part that you missed so that I can just answer that.
Okay. Let me view my answer. Yeah. Home and about. When I click that home, when I click that about, it doesn't. Your own move to open about, but I didn't see my own didn't click.
Okay, is your showing that error that I showed you earlier?
No, sir. I just when I click the about, it's supposed to open the about, but it didn't open it.
Okay, I think there's a part error. So I believe
Yes, I missed that part, sir.
Okay, so I'll just give you a moment if you can screenshot this. So if you're on the home, that's index.html. Once you type this dot and /, you enter the views folder, then /about.html. It should open, unless you don't have this about.html inside your views. Okay, so have you taken note of that? You can screenshot it, or if you are fast, you can just edit it at once.
Yeah. I've made the change now.
Okay. So is it working now?
Okay, it has opened, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
the next one that you did last, sir, that about the view my repost, my gig repost, that it opens in another page.
Okay, like in another tab. So you just add this.
Yes.
You just add this attribute that is there, which is the target, then equal to underscore about blank.
Okay. I get it, sir.
Okay. So okay, thank you very much for your question. Like, I encourage, if you can be typing along with me, so that in case there's any error, I can help to debug it for you. But if you can't, because I'm recording the class, you can see follow through, or if you take notes, you can also follow through. Okay, so the next thing that I want to move on now to is attributes. Like, we just use an attribute now that added some extra functionality that is somehow higher than the default one. So what are HTML attributes? HTML attributes are special words used inside the opening tag to control the element's behavior. In other words, HTML attributes are a modifier of the HTML element type. So you can say that the HTML attribute just give it some extra abilities. So you instruct it that it can use this ability or other ability. So you notice that by the time we've not added our target blank here, we have the issue that if the user clicks on this, it will load this new page on top of our own, which we might not want, because for a real website, like if it is for a real website, it might be that when the user clicks on this new tab, if this, it might take the person, it might be difficult for the person to navigate back to your website. And if the person finds it difficult to navigate back to your website, the person might just leave your website entirely. So this is a functionality that helps the user to easily find his way back to your website after viewing the content of the new website. So attributes, they just give the tag some extra power that would determine how it will behave or how it will display. So let's continue. So we want to remember this about attributes. All HTML elements can have attributes. So all HTML elements. Now HTML element on the surface is the same thing as tags. So all HTML elements can accept what? Attributes. Attributes provide additional information about elements. So another way you can think of attributes is, let's say you walk into a restaurant or a fast food, and you just call the waiter and say, I want to eat rice. Now the person can just bring a default rice for you. Maybe is this stew rice or is it fried rice or two? But the person, in most times they'll ask you if you want meat, so they'll ask you that one. So meat is like an extra attribute added to the rice. Now if you want fried plantain, you also include. Now if you also want to add egg too, so all those extra things apart from the bare minimum, which is what? Rice and meat, is what an attribute is in HTML. So you see that by you adding those rice, by adding those plantain, you see egg and this, you see it makes the food more rich and more enjoyable. So when you add attributes to a HTML tag, it gives it more power to display the way you want, and you enjoy it. So you see that these attributes that we just added now, you see the functionality that it did. By the time I close this now and I come back and I tap on this, it opens on a new tab, which is an extra ability that was caused by the attribute that we added. So that is what attributes are. Then attributes are always specified in the start tag. So I've already explained that before. So this is the start tag, that is the opening tag. If you put attributes on this closing tag, it just know that it will not work, and that is an error. So always know that attribute starts on the opening tag. Now the last one I want to take today is attributes usually come in the name value pairs, like name and value. So my network is fluctuating. So it comes with the name and value pair. So in the example that we just used now, you see that target is the name of the attribute, then the value of the attribute of that target attribute is what? Underscore blank. So let me show you again. So the name of this attribute is target attribute. Now the value is underscore blank. Now between the name of the attribute and the value is this equal to sign. So that is what we need to know about the HTML attributes. Okay, I'm seeing a hand up, Mr. Ibrahim. So please ask your question. Mr. Ibrahim, please ask your question. Unmute, please, and ask your question. Okay, I think that was a mistake, or he's having network issue. So let's move to the next slide, which is some example of the HTML attribute, and we have used this one, which is the href tag. Then we have the style tag, which is used to add, or the style attribute, which is used to add inline CSS. We have the source attribute, which is used for images and some other tag. Then we have the title attribute, we have the class attribute, we have the ID, we have the width, we have the height, and we have many of them. Now I want you to remember this. Some attributes are unique to some tags. For example, if you add a href attribute to a p tag, is meaningless. But as we added it to an anchor tag, you see that it made sense. It is the href attribute that is responsible for redirecting the user to the destination that you provide. So e.g., the href is used by the anchor tag, which you have seen. Then the link tag, which we use to add external CSS. Then the iframe, and more of them. But it's meaningless to the p tag, the h tag, and the what, and the div tag. Now some attributes can be used for any tags, and that includes the ID tag, the ID attribute, the class attribute, and the title attribute. So there are many of them. So just know that there are some attributes that are meaningful to a tag. If you use them in another tag, it will just be useless. Whereas there are some attributes that is general. You can use them for any tag. So that is what this slide is informing us about. So we'll move to the next one. Okay, so we are done for today. So this is what we are going to learn in our tomorrow's class. But there are some things I skipped earlier. So let's see if we can cover that before the next 15 minutes. I think I skipped that in slide 8. Sorry, excuse me. So we skip the bold tag. So let's say we want to use the HTML tag to make a text bold. So I want to show you that. So if we go back, so let's say I want to make this lorem or this ipsum to be bold. So I'll just highlight it. I'll do Ctrl X and type my B and hit enter, and I'll paste. So if I save that, this is in my about. So if I go to my browser, go to my about, you notice that this ipsum is now what? Bold. So that is a function of the bold tag. Then we also have the break tag. Now you notice that this text, it is only when it reaches the end of the browser that it will break to the new line. What if you want them to break before it reaches the end using HTML? So that is when you use the break tag, that is the B arrow tag. So I want to show you that now. So let's say I wanted to break in this elite, then before this at Q something. So I'm going to put a space here, B arrow, and hit what? Enter. So if I save that now, you notice on the browser it is going to what? Break there. So there are virtually many tags, but you don't need to, you will not use all of them, but just know the principle that a tag must have the opening and closing. You can add attributes only in the opening tag, the format of attributes, and what they do. So then let's move to the next one. So we have the span tag. So now this span tag is is an inline tag. So we can use the span tag when we want to specifically style something. So I want to demo that for you. So let's say I have, so let's say H2 and I have Nigeria. Now if I save this and go to my browser, you notice it's showing me Nigeria. But if I want to use my CSS to make sure that you know the color of the Nigerian flag is green, white, green, right? So if I want to style this NIG green, this E white, and this one what, green, using CSS, that is when I will now use my span tag. So and remember, you can only add an attribute to a tag. So if I use the inline CSS, which we are not doing now, so I will not do that, to add a color to this HTML, to just apply it to everything. But to create that scenario where this will be green, this white, and this green, or even another color, that is when I will now use the span tag. So this is how you will do the markup. So I'll do it like this. I'll do CTRL-X, span. So I'll just give a space so that I'll use my emit, span. I'll paste that. Then I will cut this out, this rear. I'll just give a space so I can use my emit, span. Oh my god, span. I'll paste that. Then I'm going to remove the white spaces, so I'll go back and I'll go back. Now if I save this, you will not see any visible difference on the browser. It should be showing Nigeria, but because of I have now done the markup this way, or I've done the HTML this way, if I add a color of white to this H2, is going to apply all of them because the color property can be inherited. But now I will now add a different color to this span tag that is only this NIG. So to now change this one to what, green, then this will be what, white. Then I also add a color to this, which will be what, green. Of course, if you are making the color white, that means the background will not be white unless you not be seeing the E. So this is a good scenario of when we use the span tag. So if I save this, I come to the browser, you see that there's no visible difference. But with CSS now, we can now do things. So that is an example of how we use the span tag. Then the next one is the div tag or the section tag. Now this div tag is also used for CSS purposes. It's used to group our website into sections. Say for example, now I want to create, let's say, a mini blog site. So I can use my div. I'll just say div. So I'll hit enter. I'll have a H2. I'll put how to download VS Code. Then I'll put my paragraph, lorem 15, enter. Then shift alt arrow down, 1 2. So I splitted it into 3. So let's say in this about page now, I want this section to have a different background and a different spacing. So by using div or by using the section tag, I can achieve that using CSS. So if I save this, you will not see any visible difference, but in my CSS I can now do the styling before I want, the way I want. So if I do that, So it's also the same thing if I use my section tag. So I also duplicate this, shift or arrow down. So if I change this to section, then I change this to also section. So I have to download, let's say, Git. So you see that they also do the same job. You just see. But now this section tag that is here has more semantic meaning. That is, even though you are not a programmer and you see this code, you notice that this is a section of this body tag. But you see this div now, if you might be wondering, what does this div tag mean, or what is it doing here? So actually the div tag stands for division. So it still does the same job as this section, but this is a modern tag that gives more meaning. But developers usually use the div tag because it is easier to type. But to be professional, it's good for you to use what? The section tag. Okay, so the last thing I want to show you now is how to do listing in your HTML. And just like I told you, there are some other things I'll record using a video, like the image, the form, the table, the video, and other stuff, and those videos will be ready before the end of Monday. But lastly, let's just learn how to use the list tag. First of all, I know we've gone over time, so let's see, should I continue or should I stop? So I'm thinking I should stop because I've gone over time. So I'm seeing a hand. So I think that's okay. Please speak up. Speak up.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Mine is not actually a question. It's about the time.
Okay.
Please, you've loaded us too much.
Yes.
Let's just digest this one.
Exactly. That's
tomorrow. Thank you.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking too, because I've gone over time. So I'm going to add that to the video that I will make. But adding list to your HTML is just very, very simple. You just need the parent tag and the list tag, which is either UL or OL. So we are going to stop here. So far, do we have any question based on what we have learned so far? Do we have any question? So while you're thinking about your question, okay, Mr. Ajayi.
Thank you very much for that wonderful. You said you recorded this class. Are we going to have this video after?
Yes, immediately I'm going to if everything goes well, the video will be ready before tomorrow's class.
Thank you very much.
Okay. You're welcome. Okay, Omonola.
Okay, thank you for the class. I just have a few questions.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Alright, so I just want to ask our CSS and JavaScript. Is it want to create a folder so we can write it? Like, what if I don't want to write
No. It is not a must, but putting it inside a folder just make things organized, but it's not a must.
Oh, okay, sir. Thank you, sir. So please, another one I want to ask is about the linking, like linking websites.
Okay.
Okay, so I wanted to ask about this home linking back to the home from the bank. Does that mean that if it is contact, if it is let's say today, like when we are supposed to link our home inside those, like about .html, let's say we have start.html, let's say we have domain.html. So inside those, we have to link our home so that we can easily go back to our footer.
Yes, exactly. Unless you don't want the user to be able to access that page from a particular page, then you not put it in your navbar. But if you want the user to easily go back, then you have to add it. And just as I demonstrated, you have to make sure that the path is correct. If not, it will show an error.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Please, this last one is not question related to class.
Okay.
It's about the arrangement of I'm not sure if it is Adedayo or Adedayo. I don't really know how I arrange it.
Okay.
But I hope it doesn't matter.
No. It doesn't matter as long as it exists in the attendance. I'll just tick it for you.
Alright, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you for the wonderful class.
Okay, you're welcome. So the next hand is Ilori Festus. Good afternoon. Oh, it's already evening, sorry. Okay.
So I want to ask you, you were mentioning about that. Is there any features on GitHub that on your VS that can notify when I see the one tag? Is there something that can notify you the wrong tag on VS Code?
Yes. I think if you make a mistake, let's say, I hope you can see my screen, right? So in VS Code we have what we call IntelliSense. Like it is like my network. Okay, sorry, my network just kicked me out. I have to change to Airtel now. So let me check if my screen is showing, because what I wanted to show you is from the screen.
Okay, sir. I'm expecting it. And so I also appreciate my sharing of today's slide so that I can write it out on our notepad for referencing.
Okay. I will try to do that as soon as possible, but hopefully before tomorrow class you see it. So if you make a mistake on your VS Code, let's say, I don't think it, I know for CSS and let's try that. For your HTML code, it not throw an error, but by the time we move to CSS and JavaScript, once you make a typo error, then for some of it just highlight, it will show like a red wave sign that is an error. So that one is called IntelliSense also. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So as we still have some hand up, so let's see how many we can take before. I wanted this class to end by 5:30 dot for network. So I just unmuted the hand now. I didn't check the name I unmuted. Okay, so if there's any question you have, you can carry it along to our tomorrow's class, because it's like the network is fluctuating. So let's take our last attendance, then we can close for today. I'm seeing more hands. Okay, so let me attend to the questions first. So Ebibote, please. Ebibote.
Good evening, sir. Okay, please, I wanted to ask for a favor. So please, can we get a video, the record of today before the class of tomorrow begins, so we can go through it?
Exactly, that is my intention. So I will try my best so that I can get it to you before tomorrow's class.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for your question. Okay, so let's Bashir Umar. Bashir Umar. Okay, so we'll just take our attendance. Then you can take this question to tomorrow's class, because I've taken much time, so that we'll end the class as expected. So the attendance window is now open, so you can start turning in your attendance. Remember, you just have just a minute to do that. So